So there's a show called Special Ops Lioness, produced by Nicole Kidman, who also stars in the show, and Zoe Saldana, who is one of the most watched actors in the world, has been in some very big movies such as Avatar. There's usually an exoteric plot in these shows, but there's also an esoteric hidden story. Exoterically, it's about someone becoming a CIA operative and going on a mission, otherwise known as special operations. And my thesis is that this show is all about the transition process, and the word operation in this show really means operation, like what happens in the hospital or the clinic. They undergo operations so they can conduct psychological operations and deception operations on the public. And so here it is at basic training, standing in the women's line. And then, of course, what does this actor say? This character says, I want to be in that line, which is the men's line. Okay, so right off the bat, we got the old switcheroo. Like, why did you have to go in the men's line to do the pull-ups? You could have just done them over here. Then, of course, sets a record. She got 99% on her PT on the men's scale. No woman has done this. So this person scored better than all the men even. Apparently, the Marines have a PSYOP department, and of course, joins the CIA. And here's the boss: the sanctity of our operation. So the word operation means initiation and also transformation. And there's a sanctity which relates to purity and holiness, right? It's a purification ritual. They're practicing ritual androgyny. That's how they save themselves. It's their religion. Zoe Saldana's character's name is Joe, J-O-E. That's actually how you spell the name. It's not J-O like most women, it's J-O-E. Hey, Joe, looks like the Kid Man has undergone some special operations recently. In fact, you might want to think about just working behind the scenes a little bit more. In fact, I actually read a review on the show, and they were complaining about Nicole Kidman's face. So the operation and the initiation is going to involve pain. So it kind of reminds me of like MK Ultra, right? And we're going to see that they try to break this person. Waterboarded, beaten up, and abused, fights back pretty hard because this person's strong and beats men up throughout the show. I won't break. You got to know where you break. So they're trying to find the breaking point. I need to know her breaking point. She said break her, and we broke her. So they break them down and they build them back up. Part of the initiation into the mystery religions. Welcome to the team. Welcome to the CIA. So the person's job is to befriend this daughter of an oil executive who's also like a terrorist. She says, you American girls in makeup, right? So they talk about makeup already. So the person went through the inspection and now needs to go to the ancient Near East, represented by the Middle East in the show, and they need to learn how to wear makeup. And also gets a name change. That's part of the baptism and the initiation into the cult, similar to when someone like Eric becomes Erica. Now you got to go shopping. You got to get some new clothes because there's makeup and then there's clothes. That's part of the transition. And here's an interesting line. This is one of your science experiments. This one survived the experiment. The androgynes are full of scars because they're getting all this surgery all the time. They're undergoing all kinds of procedures on a regular basis, skin and bones, looking in the mirror, the duality, the illusion, that kind of stuff. There it is, just kind of randomly beating up some dude again at a bar, going to the doctor, going to the clinic, starting a new life, a new identity on a secret operation, special operation, a special initiation with the makeup and the clothing and the surgeries. Surgeries in the morning, right? Surgery. Government has overused media to push a narrative. Well, yes, it certainly has. And now nobody believes anything they read. Well, that is kind of getting more and more true. Some people still believe what they read, but many people do not. So there's no way to release legitimate information. Kind of an ironic line coming from this person who cannot be trusted. And here's a good example of where the nose is too small for the face. You're really bad with the makeup. Now, this is something that everyone going through this type of transition has to learn how to do. It doesn't come natural for men to know how to wear makeup. And here's the more experienced initiates taking this person under the wing and saying, hey, we'll teach you how to wear the makeup. It's a big part of your special operations. I don't think any amount of makeup's going to help. And right here, you can tell this person is sucking in the gut and pulling the shoulders back and has the hair kind of over the shoulders because they're doing a bikini scene, right? So they have to try to cover up what they can. Now begins the makeup part of the initiation and transformation. And in the background, this song is playing that says, I am her, 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 her. See, now it's transforming, and that's why they chose this music. This person's transforming into someone who might look like a woman, possibly. Puts on the makeup, goes out, this guy says, you look like a model. Well, yeah, that is true. That's the one true thing we've seen so far, because this is what models look like. Models are tall and have undergone the special operation. However, this guy turns out to be a date rapist, and so they put him through a symbolic ritual castration. They do some very painful looking things here in this scene, which I won't show, and he's screaming because of the ritual castration. And then for some reason, out of the blue, get me DNA samples. Remember, this word sample is a very important symbolic word, and most of these shows do end up somehow using this phrase, DNA sample or primordial sample or whatnot. They just have to throw it in there. Kind of for no reason, the daughter of this person breaks the leg. That represents the Bigfoot or the biological sample, just right after talking about DNA samples in the show. And here, going to the clinic. They only knew the pain of looking beautiful. Well, yeah, for them, it is painful, all right? They're doing all kinds of procedures. They're getting cut. They're getting body parts removed. They're injecting silicone. They're doing all kinds of procedures all the time on an ongoing basis. It never ends. If you're a man trying to look like a woman, it's going to be a painful process. It's a sacrifice. See, like I said, it's a purity ritual. They're trying to purify themselves by becoming androgynous. And now they're going to buy new clothes, part of the special operations. And then, of course, the obligatory lesbian scene. This person's about to get married, and this is an undercover CIA operative. And of course, they fall in love, and they're both supposed to be female characters. So now we have a lesbian love story out of the blue. You didn't really see it coming. And that's pretty much par for the course these days. Most of these streaming service shows have lesbians. In fact, I've heard from actual females who've emailed me and they've said, hey, I thought I was a lesbian because I was attracted to these actresses. And they didn't know the actresses are actually men. And that's why they're attracted to them, because they are actually men. So this is really like lesbian propaganda. Like a man would not be attracted to this person, but a woman might be. Of course, the girlfriend doesn't want to get married anymore because that's bad. She's just going to be a wife and a mother, and how horrible that's going to be. It's another part of this agenda. This show is marriage is horrible for women because they just become wives and mothers, and that's horrible. It's much better to be a jet-set lesbian partying all the time. And there's the very feminine-looking Adam's apple again, going to the Middle East to go to the wedding, meets the fiancé and threatens the fiancé. Notice this person is taller than this guy here. I don't want to give away spoilers, but let's just say that there's a very anti-marriage view and even an anti-patriarchy message in this show as well. So it's kind of got that divine feminine, mystery school, lesbian propaganda. And this is the actor here, born in Toronto, Ontario, to a family of Brazilian origin. Now it kind of makes sense. Brazil went to a school of the arts, which I suspect is part of the initiation process as well. Now here's a news article. Can you tell the difference? Brazilian beauty pageant for males who want a sex change, otherwise known as a special operation. It's another code word I have now. So here's some photos of the people undergoing a special operation from Brazil. And these are all biological men. The high-cheeked sirens, they're sirens. That basically means kind of like a demon, doesn't it? Succubus flaunted their feminine curves. Oh, they got feminine curves at the Miss Trans Brazil 2013 contest. Brazil, the home of the Brazilian butt lift. They have advanced butt lifting technology in Brazil. So a lot of these will probably fool you. Actually, I've never been to Brazil. The victor can either undergo a sex change or have the best cosmetic facial and plastic surgery. This is basically just like the show we just talked about. It's a contest, and the winner gets free operations. Testimony from the actual subject saying that the hormone tablets create curves, feminine-looking curves created by the hormones, the pharmakia. to bioengineering, Brazil has recently seen a surge in the numbers of transgender models gracing the catwalk. 6-foot-tall Felipa, who signed to the 40 Degrees International Model Agency. That discovered top supermodel Gisele Bündchen. So a 6-foot-tall man, who now looks like a woman, signed to the same modeling agency as Gisele. What a coincidence. We live in a world full of illusion. Things are not what they appear to be, especially when you go to Brazil or Southeast Asia or the United States, or when you turn on your TV. So if you watch this show as the story of someone going through a male to female transition, it actually makes a lot of sense. That's what the show's about.